Hello, this is the page again with the promise of the interview of the Odyssey book review. Now, I don't have the artwork to show you. I actually have the book, but I just want to show my face for these interviews. Okay, what can I say about the Odyssey? How can I describe it in one word? It's an action-packed book that's been made into several different versions of like every other classic book that's ever been written in this world. Now, for those of you who have no idea what the Odyssey is or do not care about Greek mythology, that's okay. For if you just want to read a story that's just action-packed, but is about that time period, if you like or don't like it, it doesn't matter. Because if you just like a simple action book, this is the one. And so, let me give you a brief summary of what this book is. First of all, the name Odysseus is a name, but it's also a Greek word for pain. Believe it or not, it would make sense, Odys, like dislocate. You know, you've heard the words dislocate. See, there's that doctor in me again. Okay. And they probably use a lot of Greek and Roman words, because most of our English language, surprisingly, is from Latin, Greece, and Rome. You've heard the term all roads lead to Rome. You've heard the term don't put the baby before the bathwater. You're calling the kettle black. You've heard all those terms. Yeah. But the name Odysseus means pain. But it was about a Greek king named Odysseus who fought against the Trojans, and apparently I've read the book. And in the book, I have no idea if the Trojans represent something of this modern age, or if they were just representing, like, I don't know, the Philistines in Samson's day. I don't know if Odysseus is actually supposed to be the Bible Samson character. Because if you remember the story of Samson, Samson beat the crap out of the Philistines and used a jawbone and told riddles. Odysseus used a spear and sword and armor. So I don't know if he's supposed to be King David of the Greek world or Samson of the Greek world. Hercules is really the Samson, if you really think about it. But anyway, he had a wife named Penelope, and the Trojan king was driving him crazy, and so he goes after him, picks them off one by one, and like a bunch of idiots in the story, they get drunk at this huge party, and they come in on this wooden horse, and that's where we get the term Trojan virus, the Trojan horse virus. Y'all familiar with that? Yeah, so that's where we get most of that. So there's the brief summary. So then you gotta read the rest of it. And of course, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and battle strategy, helps out Odysseus. I guess because she likes him, I have no idea. As dawn rose with her red fingers, Odysseus went out and destroyed the Trojans. And Telemachus is the son, who's trying to find Odysseus. Now, when I first read the book, the first time I heard about it, I thought the story was supposed to be about Odysseus, but it starts out with his son Telemachus. And I was getting very confused because the Odyssey and the Iliad, the Odyssey and the Iliad are two different books. But what's funny is Odysseus is in the Iliad, but it's actually about another character, Achilles' heel. You've heard that term too. Your Achilles' heel is your weakness. So, here's the thing. They're both kind of in the same era, but about two different characters. It's like all the stories about Kratos that they've redone. It's like, how many times can you redo the story of Kratos? For all the God of War fans out there, yeah, you're probably wondering the same thing. And it kind of goes along because actually Kratos really is Odysseus. He's just like grayish red. But in my opinion, if you really want to get people interested in Greek mythology, you need to get together. People need to get together with like the people who made Skyrim and the people who make God of War and make one called the o- Odyssey, Iliad, which is basically the Odyssey and the Iliad put together. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I'm sorry. Um, so here's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. So okay, so Odysseus is actually in the the Iliad, which I will cover, but I haven't even read yet. But I will cover that in the future. Ding. Um. So okay, so he goes after the Trojans, and basically they get hammered, and they're so drunk, and they can't even stand up. So at their weakest point of this big party, and they didn't expect to get killed by this guy. So he him and his men kill him. It didn't really say the name of the men, but he didn't go by himself. It's not like he's like this one man army that did it all himself. No. He had a bunch of people with him on a boat in the Roman days, and he went through all this hardship, and he finally gets home, and his son is out trying to find him, and his wife, these people called suitors, are trying to get Penelope to remarry, and she's still holding out for Odysseus. And he finally gets there, and it's just he's so sick of fighting, he just wants to go to sleep. so, um, so that's pretty much the Odyssey in a nutshell. Now that's a summary. Now, my opinion, Homer did a good job. The guy is now gone, but yet he his stories still hold out, and they've redone it so many times in so many different versions of the same story. So my question is, where's the actual transcript of the original story? Not the refurbished ones, not the remastered ones, whatever you want to call it. There has got to be somewhere in Rome, buried beneath somewhere in Rome, in a library with the original transcripts actually written by Homer himself. Because no one really knows, like, what Odysseus was based off of. If he was based off a biblical character that he just knew about. Because I'm sure Homer was a Christian. Because if you think about it and if you read it, take my word for it, you gotta read it. If you read it, it almost sounds like two biblical characters put together. And Athena would actually be biblically the Virgin Mary, in my opinion, or Eve. And then Odysseus would just be either King David or just some Greek king that's just really loyal to and his subjects, and his son and everything is loyal to him. And he had a right hand person to take care of the house while he was gone. So what more could you want in this story? It's just awesome. I would definitely recommend it. 150 points to the person who wrote it. Homer, this is for you. Of course, you're gone now, but your story will live on for all eternity. And anyone who reads it. And they say not to read that book, and they say it's a classic, and some people hate it. But if you read Homer's Odyssey, or no, not, that's the name of the book. If you read Brother, Where Art Thou, it's actually based off Homer's Odyssey, like I just said. So it's actually the 1930s version of the story of Odysseus. But then again, but then again, they need to make a modernized movie of that. Because they did one with Arnold Vosloo of the Odyssey, and it was like Homer went with him, and he was like in the story, kind of like Page Master, and mm, yeah, not very good, not good at all. It sucked because I didn't see it from the beginning. We were right in the middle of it, my friend and I. My friend and I liked that stuff, and we also saw Wrath of the Titans and Clash of the Titans. Now people said Wrath of the Titans and Clash of the Titans sucked. Well, it's only because they didn't like Greek mythology, so excuse me. So whatever. But next time I will be covering Percy Jackson and the Olympians, since I'm on this kick of Greek mythology stories. Now I haven't read Dorian Gray yet, but I'm going to start